My name's Caitlin Wild, and this is Karen, and we are here doing a soft power presentation. We have learned in class that a crisis is a change of the status quo, and the proper response in a crisis is to be transparent, honest, and truthful, and to present your information promptly, and making sure that you are presenting information that is clear and truthful, and you know that it's what the facts are. And ethically, when we include soft power, which is a persuasion instead of coercion or payment, it's the ability to attract through persuasion. And we have learned in soft power that we're using cultural values and ideas to change the public, whether it be through Hollywood videos and documentaries and all the propaganda videos that come out. And we're trying to change people's minds through persuasion instead of being coerced. And I will give it over to Karen to give examples of both historical and contemporary.
So some of the most important soft power public diplomacy that I was first aware of was the Chinese ping pong diplomacy, when China sent in the 70s teams of championship ping pong players to crisscross the United States with their game, which was new to most Americans, although most of us growing up in the 70s remember somebody had a ping pong table in the basement in the neighborhood. I wonder if that's still true, but more a recent example of that kind of public diplomacy and use of soft power with sports in particular was when the American football players went to the UK to play American football. And that was a time when two countries separated by a common language were able to see that even the game they both call football but play very differently, they still had many things in common. I think that the use of soft power can be wielded very well and delicately even by a trained and seasoned politician. And I would point to Justin Trudeau, who uses his soft power when, after the Trump administration makes it much more difficult for refugees to come to America, Trudeau says Canada is open and welcoming to all refugees. His audience there is not just the refugees of the world, but also the American public, frankly, especially when he makes these pronouncements a few days after Trump has already made one. When you think about public diplomacy and soft power, there can be some very unusual examples, ones that you might not think about. So, for example, when Meghan Markle and Prince Harry left the royal family to move to North America, that is a way they can bring influence and attraction to England. I don't care if he's called Prince Harry or not Prince Harry. Every time anyone sees him, we're going to think of merry old England, and that can only be positive for the UK. Another version or another example of the use of soft power was when the Trump administration, their ICE department decided that students who would be in America but studying all online would have to go home to their home countries. And then you had one of the arcs in Nye's Hollywood to Harvard, Harvard University, amongst other universities, stand up to the Trump administration and say, no, you can't do that, that's not right. Not only were they standing up to the Trump administration, but they were also speaking to the international students, both here and abroad, to say that American higher education is still open to you. And of course, I think the whole thing was actually very performative to begin with, because I think the Trump administration said that for his base. As I said, I believe the colleges and universities needed to do that to speak to their international students. And when all was said and done in court, the Trump administration sort of said, oh, never mind. So it does seem like that was more of a performance, but it was a performance of soft power nonetheless. I think also a good example of public diplomacy are the Black Lives Matter protests that take place across the world in other countries. Not only are they sharing support for America and its struggles, but they're also raising awareness of the struggles that they have in their own countries. So I didn't realize that people of color in the UK have as much difficulty as African Americans and Latinos and other non-whites here in America can have with the police departments. So in that way, rising up and across and through and beyond and around governments, people are connecting with a common experience. And it's no surprise to me that Trump is so bad at soft power and public diplomacy, because soft power is not a zero-sum game. It is actually a win-win-win-win-win-win-win as far as the eye can see. But from Trump's perspective, the whole world is a zero-sum game, so it's certainly not something he's going to understand.
And I also want to say that for a good leader, which Trump could be, is to use both soft and hard power combined, and using good ethical decisions to combine them, and knowing when to use hard power and when to use soft power. And a good president would be doing that right now during our crisis.
Okay, and with that, on that happy note, bye class.